Well, folks, let me go ahead and cut straight to it because you're being lied to. They're lying about the shooter. They're lying about his mom's post. They're lying about a Trump t-shirt and a sign in the yard. And the reason is simple. They are desperate to turn a family tragedy into a political weapon. All over the news, you're seeing it. Shooters, MAGA mom sends chilling message. Trump sign proves extremist motive. Make liberals cry again t-shirts. Ties him to terrorism. But here's the truth that they don't want you to hear. None of it proves anything. Not the shirt, not the sign, not the Facebook post. It's all smoke and mirrors designed to smear MAGA and paint you as guilty by association. And so why are they doing this now? Well, because Donald J. Trump is back in the White House. The left can't stand it. It pisses them off. Their grip on the narrative is slipping. And the only card that they have left is fear. Fear of you, fear of MAGA, fear of the truth. So guys, in this video, I'm going to tear apart their lies piece by piece. So I'm going to explain all of this, what they're trying to do and what they're planning to do to you. And I'm going to show you guys the real story of Sanford, his mom, and that so-called proof the media won't stop shoving down your throat. But by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how they invented this narrative and why their lies are about to collapse under the weight of the truth that I'm about to drop on you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Okay, so folks, I don't want to waste any time here because they're lying to you. Straight up, the media isn't reporting the news, they're scripting it. And this time their story kind of goes like this. Thomas Sanford, the shooter in Grand Blanc, was a Trump-loving MAGA extremist who stormed into a Mormon church because of politics. That is the fairy tale that they're spinning today. But here's the truth. They don't have the evidence. They don't have a manifesto. They don't have a confession. They don't even have statements from investigators tying this to ideology. What they do have is a shirt, a yard sign, and a Facebook post from Sanford's mother. That's your smoking gun. That's their smoking gun. And ask yourself right now, why is this narrative being pushed with such force? Well, it's because President Donald J. Trump is president of the United States and the left just can't handle it. They are desperate to paint Trump and his supporters as dangerous. So they, take a tragedy, they rip it out of context, and then they shove it into their propaganda machine. That's how it works. This isn't about Sanford anymore. This is about you. This is about making you afraid to support your president, afraid to stand up for what you believe. That's why we need to talk about this, the lies versus the truth today. We need to talk about this right now. So let's talk about the piece of evidence that really started this frenzy, the viral photo. You've seen it. Sanford in a black t-shirt that reads, "Make liberals cry again, Trump 2020. Oh, it's everywhere. And the second that photo hit social media, Democrats declared victory. You see? MAGA terrorist. Case closed. Really? But hang on a second, guys. When this photo first surfaced, even conservatives were skeptical. It looked a little off. The print looked pasted on. The edges were blurred. People said, hey, this has to be fake. Maybe even AI generated. Screenshots of a clean version of the t-shirt started spreading with no graphic on it at all. That fueled the theory that the MAGA shirt was photoshopped. But then we learned something that the media won't emphasize. This picture came from 2018. This is long before AI photo generators even flooded the internet. This is long before deep fake shirts were even a thing. Sanford's family, they posted themselves during a time in their lives, a very tough time, in fact. So maybe the shirt was real. But here's a question that kind of blows their whole case apart. So what, right? Wearing a Trump shirt in 2018 does not explain Sanford's actions in 2025. There's a 7-year gap, number one. It also doesn't prove political motive. It doesn't prove terrorism. It only proves he owned a t-shirt. That's it. I mean, heck, maybe it wasn't even his shirt. Have you never spilled something on your shirt and you borrow your friend's shirt, because you don't want to sit there at his house wearing a wet shirt? Anything could have happened. Anyway. Yet the media is treating it like gospel truth because it's the only scrap of narrative that they can cling to. Now, in every generation, there is a shift. And right now, that shift is clear. Seniors are reviewing their Medicare plans with Chapter. This is why I partnered with Chapter, because when the herd moves, it's for a reason. Now, one of our viewers told us this. Everyone I know is calling Chapter about Medicare. So I finally did. And I'm glad I wasn't the last. So let me ask, are you going to stay behind? Or are you going to join the herd that's already moving? Now, most people are already dialing the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. The telephone number on your screen is 909-563-8255. 279. So now let's move on to the second smoking gun. The media just keeps waving this thing around. Sanford's mother's Facebook post. Now, you've seen the headlines. Shooter's MAGA mom shared chilling message before the massacre. Sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Sounds like a conspiracy, a plot, a call to arms. But when you actually look at the post, it isn't some coded extremist message. It's a grieving mother writing through pain and heartbreak, posting something cryptic that only makes sense in the context of her family's struggles. There's no manifesto, there's no plan, there's no rallying cry. It's just a mom who was watching her son fall apart. So why twist it? Why take a parent's cry for help and try to turn this thing into proof of MAGA extremism? I mean, because guys, that is the only card that the media has left to play. They can't explain Sanford's personal struggles, his PTSD, his sick child, his family breakdown, because those details don't serve the narrative. Instead, they would rather cherry pick one Facebook post, weaponize it against every Trump supporter in America. Now ask yourself, how low do you have to go to try and smear a grieving parent to score some political points? That's not reporting. That is character assassination, and it tells you everything about the agenda behind this coverage. Now, the next piece of their so-called evidence is just as flimsy. Reports showed up at Sanford's home, and what did they find? Oh, they found a Trump yard sign. That's it. A piece of cardboard stuck in the grass. And from that, the media declared, see, MAGA house. Case closed. But let's use a little bit of common sense here. Millions of Americans have Trump signs in their yards. Millions have Biden signs and RFK Jr. signs or Bernie Sanders stickers. Heck, sometimes people will stick a sign in your yard and not even ask for permission. So, do we just automatically assign motive if someone in the household commits a crime? If a Biden supporter snaps, do we just plaster his bumper sticker across the news and blame Joe Biden for the act? Of course not. That would be completely absurd. It would be ridiculous. But when it's Trump, when it's MAGA, all of a sudden the rules change. Suddenly a yard sign becomes evidence of terrorism. Suddenly political preference equals political violence. And that's not logic. That's just propaganda. So here's a real danger. If they can weaponize Sanford's yard sign, what's stopping them from weaponizing yours, right? What is stopping them from saying, look, you see that guy down there, right? You see that guy down the street with the MAGA flag? He's a threat. That's the slippery slope that we're building. And folks, we can't afford to ignore this. So here's where the truth really comes into focus. While the media is obsessed with shirts and signs and Facebook posts, they're completely ignoring who Thomas Sanford really was. Sanford wasn't a cardboard cutout of a political extremist. He was a 42-year-old veteran, a man who served his country, a man who came home carrying scars most of us will never even understand. And what do we know, right? Sanford was struggling. Like, he had family issues. He had a sick child. He was battling demons from his service, likely PTSD, maybe depression, maybe more. I don't know. His mother's cryptic post, it wasn't evidence of extremism. It was a cry from a mom who saw her son unraveling. But none of this fits the media's narrative. It doesn't. If they acknowledge Sanford as a man in crisis, then they would have to talk about the failures of the VA. They'd have to talk about the lack of mental health support, the heavy toll on veterans. And that doesn't smear Trump, so of course they're going to have to ignore that. Now think about how dishonest that is. A tragedy rooted in human pain gets rewritten as political terrorism, right? And while the left plays games with shirts and signs and the real issues, mental health, veterans care, family collapse, all that gets buried. That's the real scandal here. So, this is where the whole thing turns into pure politics. The Sanford story, it's been hijacked, plain and simple. So instead of covering the complexity, instead of waiting for facts, Democrats and their media allies declared MAGA terrorist, Trump's America. Proof conservatives are dangerous. This is narrative manufacturing at its finest. Why? Because it serves their agenda. Right now, in September 2025, Donald J. Trump is president. The left has lost control of their narrative. The policies are failing. Their credibility is shot, and they're desperate. They're desperate to delegitimize Trump's base. So what do? They flip the script. They take a tragedy and they turn it into a weapon. They ignore the veteran. They ignore the PTSD. They ignore the family collapse. They grab a shirt and a yard sign and they say, hey, this proves it. MAGA is terrorism. But here's the real danger, folks. If they can just brand Sanford as a Trump terrorist over some scraps of symbolism, what's stopping them from branding you the same way? What's stopping them from pointing at your hat, your flag, your sign, and saying, there's the next terrorist? That is the road we're on, and it's not just dishonest, it's a little dangerous. So now we need to talk about the double standard that is so glaring that you could just kind of see it from space. Remember the assassination of Charlie Kirk? That was no mystery. The shooter didn't hide his intent. He outright admitted his motive was political. He said he targeted Charlie Kirk because he was a conservative, because he was right-wing, because of his beliefs. That was plain as day, right? So how did the media react? Did they spend weeks running wall-to-wall coverage? Did they call him or it a domestic terrorism? Like, did Democrats stop in front of the cameras to demand accountability? No, they downplayed it. They softened it. And some even, let's be honest, quietly celebrated it online. They didn't want to celebrate, or they didn't want to highlight the fact that the left-wing rhetoric was fueling real violence. Now, if we compare that to Sanford, no manifesto, no confession, no proof of political intent, just a t-shirt from 2018, a yard sign, and a mom's post, yet the media screams MAGA terrorist. Trump's America breeds violence. Do you see the game here? Real left-wing political violence gets swept under the rug. Imaginary right-wing motive gets inflated into national crisis. It's hypocrisy on steroids, and it exposes exactly why the public no longer trusts them. And so if this hypocrisy wasn't enough, here comes the outright disinformation, because the Sanford story hasn't just been twisted, it's been polluted with flat out lies. Take the Act Blue donations. Remember when posts started circulating saying Sanford donated to left-wing causes through Act Blue? Problem is, nobody could prove it was even the same Thomas Sanford. Same name, sure. Same man, no evidence. But the claim went viral anyway, because it fit what people wanted to believe. Then there were the Facebook posts. Activists dragged up an account run by a 70-year-old man, also named Thomas Sanford, who looked nothing like the shooter, and went ahead and passed his anti-Trump rants off as proof of hypocrisy. And people bought into it because they didn't even do any homework. They just assumed that this random post going around getting a lot of clicks happened to be accurate, and it wasn't. So let's not forget the photo games. We saw fake versions of the t-shirt with Trump's graphic erased. We saw people claiming the original was AI, back and forth, fake images flooding social media. Here's the truth. Misinformation spreads the fastest when, it tells people what they want to hear. And in this case, everyone was way too eager to prove their narrative right. But that's not journalism. That's just reckless. And it proves once again that the left isn't after truth. They're just after power, no matter how many lies it takes to get there. So I want to zoom out just for a second, because Sanford's story is not unique. This is like one story. This is one chapter in a much bigger playbook. The left has been running the same scam for years. Take a scrap of symbolism, inflate it into motive, and then use it to smear millions of people who had nothing to do with it. Remember the Antifa riots, cities burning, people, you had police stations being torched, small businesses destroyed, and the media called it mostly peaceful. Remember when ICE agents were being ambushed, targeted, even killed? Democrats were on TV calling them Gestapo. That rhetoric had real-world consequences, but the press, they looked the other way. Now, if you fast forward to Sanford, a Trump t-shirt from 2018, an old yard sign, a Facebook post from his mom, that's all it takes for the media to declare proof of MAGA terrorism. They don't wait for investigators. They don't wait for evidence. They just go ahead and manufacture motive on the fly. So here's the scary part. If they can lie this easily about Sanford, what else have they lied about? What other tragedies have been twisted to fit the narrative? Once you recognize the pattern, you see it everywhere, and it should terrify you. And this kind of comes back to where we are right now. Trump is the president of the United States, and that reality has the left losing its mind, because under President Trump, the old tricks don't work the same way. The American people, they're awake now. We're awake now. They've seen the fake collusion stories. They've seen the phony impeachment circus. They've seen every bombshell evaporate under scrutiny. The credibility of the media is in tatters. So they double down. They grab Sanford's shirt, his mom's post, a yard sign, and then they scream, "This is what MAGA represents. This is Trump's America." They know it's flimsy. They know it's dishonest, but they also know that they're running out of options. Now, here's a contrast. Trump condemns violence. He always has. He always will. And the America First movement doesn't need to manufacture lies. Meanwhile, Democrats exploit every tragedy to score political points. That's the integrity gap, and it's glaring. This isn't just Sanford's story. This is the front line of the narrative war. Trump's America versus the media machine. Truth versus lies, integrity versus manipulation. And it's up to us to call it out. So here's where we land, guys. After all the noise, after all the headlines, after all the twisted coverage, the truth stands out crystal clear. Thomas Sanford's past symbols, a Trump shirt from 2018, a yard sign, a cryptic Facebook post that his mother, it just doesn't add up to political terrorism. It doesn't explain motive. It doesn't prove ideology. What they do prove is how desperate the media is to create a narrative out of thin air. Yes, this was a tragedy, a veteran spiraling, a family in crisis, lives lost. But instead of treating it with honesty, the left just pounced on it like scavengers. They twisted a grieving mother's words. They turned a yard sign into a weapon. They declared MAGA guilty without evidence, because smearing Trump supporters is way more important to them than telling the truth. But here's the good news. Their lies won't last. The American people are way smarter than the media gives them credit for. So we see the hypocrisy, we see the double standard, and in the end, the truth always outlives the propaganda. So don't be intimidated. Do not let them trick you. Do not let them lie to you next, okay? And I don't even know what they're going to try to lie about next, because in Trump's America, the facts are on our side, and the truth will always outlast their lies. Like, subscribe, share this video, and keep your eyes open, because this fight is far from over, folks. I'll see you next time.